The evolution of my recording space and vocal booth. This video is about 20 minutes long. My first attempt, the basement. Now, initially I had high hopes for this. This was my go-to do-everything office recording space. As you can see, I have this set up for not only audio, but also for video. And it was my go-to do-everything office. I did everything from this particular space, but unfortunately it just wasn't going to work out if I wanted to get serious about my audio. And that's definitely something that I was focused on. So I came to realize, between the lack of fresh air, the lack of sunlight, and some pesky crickets that wanted to chirp every time I started to record anything, I needed to come up with a new plan and definitely change things up to get out of the basement. So, as you can see here, some of my recording equipment here, and equipment, it's the GH4, the Zoom H5 right there, which also is a great audio interface for those that are interested. And the white mic right there is a Rode Podcaster, great for those starting out in voiceover. The Scarlett 2i2 interface, that red box right there, that is a staple of new voice talent. This is a MXL 770 mic. Would not recommend that mic, by the way. Again, my filming setup. It worked out pretty well, but like I said, I needed to definitely move on and get some fresh air and get some sunlight and leave the crickets behind. My second attempt was the walk-in closet here. And, initially I had really high hopes for this. And, it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. I purchased some less than professional foam from the foam factory here. It came in two very large boxes, I'll say. And stunk to high heaven, man. It just stunk. And I needed to wait for these foam panels to decompress and to air out a bit. This is the inside of the closet. When I had some of the panels up already. And what I did basically is I sprayed a adhesive on the wall as well as on the foam panels to get these things to stick up. And do not do that. Do not do that at all. It was probably because that one mistake that this whole project did not work out. And the fumes were just ridiculous. And there was no way I could do anything about it. I looked online. I looked and I looked and looked. And there was nothing out there that I saw. So I did the best I could to remove the adhesive and put some of the foam panels that I could back up with what's called T-pins and just press it into the drywall as best I could. Between the foam and the actual nasty smell, toxic smell from the foam, and then add that to the adhesive, it just is not a workable environment. And, never underestimate the importance of ventilation in your vocal booth. That's something, again, I learned the hard way. As this video is going, you can see different photos of, how I had it set up. Because, again, I was still very naively optimistic that over time, of a reasonable amount of time, the smell would dissipate to a manner in which I could still utilize the walk-in closet as a realistic option for a vocal booth. But that wasn't to be the case. That wasn't to be the case. So there I am looking all happy that I finally got it up. But nope, did not happen at all. So you live and learn. You live and learn. And that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video and videos like this, to help you out there learn from my mistakes so you don't have to go and waste a ton of money and time and energy like I did. I want to help you get started the right way and really be a resource for you so you can learn from me. You know, like I said, I've been there, I've done that, and hopefully you don't have to make the same mistakes that I've made and going through all this craziness. You know, definitely use T-pins if you're going to do this in a closet. Do not use any adhesive at all. And if you're going to use the wedge panels, use the Oralex brand. I currently have those in my whisper room, and I love them. They do not have that toxic smell. There's no issues at all with these. They are expensive, but the bottom line is you get what you pay for. Yeah, definitely go with the Oralex brand if you're going to do it. They are expensive. They are expensive. Here's some pictures, like I said, in the inside of the walk-in closet whisper room. Excuse me, the walk-in closet that I was using for the vocal booth, and yeah, just didn't work. Just didn't work. The fumes got me, so I had to move on to plan number 3, and that is the I'll call it the blanket fort vocal booth option. So I went over to not Home Depot, Lowe's actually it was, and I got some 2x4s. I built a basic wood frame. I ordered some acoustic blankets from, what is it called? What was it? It was Vocal Booth to Go, that's what it was. And as you'll see coming up, I was not happy at all with these blankets. Excuse me. Was not happy at all with these blankets. The stitching on these blankets was horrendous. It was absolutely ridiculous for the price of these blankets. You know, what is this? You know, I could go on a serious rant about these blankets and the poor stitching and craftsmanship. I actually thought that I was supporting a local business here in Maryland because I believe the Vocal Booth to Go is out of Frederick, Maryland. And I guess in part I am, but these blankets are made overseas. So keep that in mind. Keep the stitching in mind when you're going to be potentially purchasing these. They do work. You know, I'm not going to say that they don't work, but they didn't do what I needed them to do in the manner in which I wanted them to do it, if that makes any sense. I needed something a little bit different, a little bit higher quality, something a little bit more professional. You know, I mean, again, the blankets did work, but the overall quality of them, it just wasn't what I expected. I think these blankets cost me around $300. Came in 2 huge packages, boxes, whatever, and you know they were just thrown out front. Pretty heavy. Each blanket weighs a good deal. I still actually utilize them to some degree on top of my whisper room and on the side of my whisper room, just to even kind of have any absorption from anything that might be going on around. And even inside in the base of my whisper room, underneath my desk here, I have a blanket kind of folded over. So I do utilize them. They haven't went to complete waste. But, you know, I really thought I was on the right path with the blanket fort option. Something also I didn't consider, again, going back to the fumes, going back to just smells in general. It can really play havoc on your vocals, the fumes and such, as well as different smells. As you're seeing with some of these pictures here, you know, the lumber itself, I didn't get any treated lumber. This was just basic, I guess it was pine or something, maybe oak, whatever it was. But the wood itself had a smell, and the smell would not go away. it lingered and lingered and lingered. And I'm like, man, you know, I went from the walk-in closet option to, excuse me, to now actually going and building this. and I got the same or similar problem. It's probably wasn't as bad, but it still wasn't what I'd hoped for. It still wasn't what I expected at the end of the day. So, again, you live and learn. You live and learn. What else can I say about this? Just to summarize, the vocal blankets from Vocal Booth to Go, they do work. The stitching sucks. Yes, true. But they do work. They do work. It's a great budget option for those just starting out. Again, I wouldn't recommend using wood. I would probably recommend using like a PVC plumbing type pipe and building a frame out of a PVC pipe. And I think that would work a lot better. Stay away from the wood. Again, I thought I was in a little old school Chuck Norris movie, back in the day when he went to Vietnam. I forgot what the movie was called. But you see these boards at the top here. I mean, I felt like I was in a Vietnamese prison, like in a POW prison. Again, there's no light, there's no air, and then I got smell again. So time for vocal booth attempt number 4, the whisper room. And this is the truck, and this is the huge pallet that it came on. If you haven't seen my other video where I had videoed everything, actually my daughter videoed everything with the delivery, definitely go and check that out. It's about 20 minutes long again. Definitely worth a look if you're considering buying a whisper room. And this pallet is huge, man. Like, do not underestimate the size of this package. Make sure that you have help for the entire process. I cannot stress that enough. So definitely have help, and definitely plan this out. Don't think you're going to do this by yourself in one day, one afternoon, whatever. It's going to require additional help, and, just be prepared for it. Coming up, you'll see some packages and, just it's spread throughout my yard a little bit here prior to me actually putting it inside of the house. And it was just a beast of a project. But, I was determined to have a professional setup this time around. It was a huge step of faith to go and to purchase this whisper room. I mean, the whisper room cost with shipping close to 11 grand. It's no joke. There's some pictures of the inside, the boxes. Don't forget, you gotta get rid of these boxes, and everything that is packaged in, So make sure you have a plan in place. But yeah, this was a huge investment. It was a huge leap of faith, and I don't regret it one bit, because I'm now at a point that I wanted to be at initially. And it's been a slow, long, drawn-out, painful process, but it's definitely been worth it. I should have just went this route to begin with, but I guess then I wouldn't have a story to share with you. And so this is the actual room. This is the pieces of the whisper room being laid out, prior to me assembling them. And I mean, it's getting it up the stairs was a beast, and I got most of the stuff upstairs by myself, but there was 2 or 3 pieces. The roof, definitely I needed help with the roof, or the ceiling rather. And so I had a buddy come over, help me with that, and maybe 2 or 3 other pieces. The roof and the door were the main concerns. The door is a beast to deal with if you're doing it solo. So again, just make sure you have at least one other person, probably 4-man team easy. This is a 4x6 whisper room, so this was small. I was initially going to get a bigger one, but after some consideration, I went with a smaller one, but one that was what's called a double-walled whisper room, meaning it's more insulated, so it has better ability to remove sound from your recordings. And again, this has ventilation. That hole up the top there's ventilation. I have a window now, thankfully. Again, don't underestimate, the natural light. Natural light is so important to your health, and, having a professional studio with natural light, it's going to keep you motivated. Being in a dark environment for hours at a time, it's not good for the psyche. It's not good for your health. You need sunlight. You need the ability to see the outside, get some fresh air, and just act, be a normal human being. You don't want to have a bunch of blankets over you, or in a closet filled with, fumes or whatever, or in a basement dealing with crickets. You need to have light. You need to have a professional environment to get your mind right for when you're out there recording your professional work, whether that's audiobooks or whatever you're doing. Maybe it's your podcast. But you need to have your mind right. And walking into a blanket fort doesn't get your mind right. Walking into the whisper room definitely gets your mind right. And it's a whole different perspective once you have something like this set up, right? It's not, playtime's over. You're rolling with the big boys at this point. They're showing you got a wall up, got some of the walls up. I'm exhausted here in this picture. I am so exhausted. There's the screwdriver right there that I was using actually to pry different things and get things lined up properly. And again, make sure you have space also over here or somewhere around here, wherever your ventilation system is going to be. You need to make sure and plan and space that out accordingly, because you do have some external items that are attached to the exterior of the whisper room. And so keep that in mind. Give yourself the space that you need. Let's see, what else can I talk about here with this? Let's see, I'm already... Let's see here. Okay, went through the blanket fort. I'm just checking out my notes here, because I want to make sure that I have some notes here, and I'll actually put these notes that I have in the description. But I want to make sure that I hit all these notes as best I can to give you guys a real look at the dynamics of what I was dealing with, and my journey. I didn't start off just buying a whisper room. That's I'm not bougie. I started off in the basement with some crickets. You work with what you got, and when you can, you move up and you keep moving forward. It wasn't instantaneously by any means. There I'm somewhat satisfied, getting the project together, getting the whisper room together. Looks like a picture here of the whisper room when it's just about complete. Let's see. No, it doesn't have any foam on the ceiling. This is prior to me, I think, getting the foam up, which was another that was a whole nother issue. The foam that the whisper room company sent me, it worked fine. It already had the Velcro on, everything was good to go. When I went and I tried to put up the Oralex foam that I got, oh my goodness. I ended up basically, just sum it up, I ended up using a hot glue gun and pressing that into the foam, and with a small 2x4 block that I had cut. That's the only way that the Velcro would stay on. So I have base traps in here, I have Velcro, I have 4-inch wedge panels, and I also have the other stuff that came with the whisper room. Because when you buy the whisper room, it actually comes with some diamond foam type stuff. Let me not forget here, a huge thank you to my wife for putting up with all the construction and the journey to get to studio perfection here with this Whisper Room. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And, without her, and her patience, none of this wouldn't have happened. If you do need any voiceover work done or any narration for any audiobooks, just go ahead and give me a shout out. My website is anthonyfleischmann.com.